What's going on, you unpaid rich motherfuckers? We're gonna have a little bit of a laugh for you fucking people today. I was actually having conversations with people because obviously this is all come basically to an end. This one guy messaged me. He's like, "No, it's not. It's gonna last until 2022." I'm like, bullshit. You're out of your fucking mind. I'm sorry. 2022. What fucking quantum math did you fucking study? Well, you probably never even finished a Rubik's Cube. Ah, fucking crazy. You know what's going? Let's talk about I'll talk about the day after the squeeze because I already know how you motherfuckers are gonna be. Because people that worked in the street and even in Silicon Valley, I had the experience of being around people. They cleared a lot of money. I was one of them. So trust me, I turned into a half a fucking fag in 2 seconds. You start counting the zeros, like, is that comma where it's supposed to be? Then you're like, holy shit. Poof, motherfucker, you're no longer poor. I wish I could be there when you motherfuckers get your numbers. Here's the deal. All right. This play, when I tell you people to relax, it's just because, and trust me, you guys have been through hell, all kinds of wild shit, and there are things I figured out in my head today that I was like, holy shit, that's what they've been doing? And I had to pull back, like literally, like, anyway, but you go through this process, and you're like, how can I relax? That's my money. I want to be rich. I'm thinking to myself, like, never forget what I said from the beginning. All you need is a couple of plays, 2 or 3 plays in your life to set you up. So while you're waiting for this one play to set you up, and you've only invested 6 months, think about what multiple years of multiple plays, what that can do for you. That's why I tell you to relax, because I'm looking at it from like, okay, if you take this and put it in something and move on to something, move on to something and move on, there you go. That's when you don't fear capital gains. That's when you look at this, look at the wording I use, a play. You know, it's like a big game, and my game, like, I retired before they decided to fucking, let's torture Lou. Poof. So I had to go back from zero, like fucking zero, like wipe out. I spoke to a friend of mine today, and I was talking to her about when I realized there was a comeback play. The whole was breaking out in China, and it was actually Christmas 2019, December. Grabbed in September, the end of September, tortured for 10 days, 2 days in transport, collapsed one weekend, arraignment to hear the judge say, who was at the bank doing the crime? And the government saying, we don't know. And I'm like, what the fuck? What am I doing here? Help. And unfortunately, that's the night that I collapsed into the emergency room. So that's pretty cruel shit. Then the next day trying to obviously recover, was banged out beyond belief. Remember spending Thanksgiving, the day of Thanksgiving, I basically was broken. I had no money in my pocket, like literally like nothing, zero, like for real. I was wearing some of Benny's clothes that he left because he was down in Texas on probation. Long story. But I was with Mike and I was with Frank, Benny's father. And I remember that on Thanksgiving that day, I was trying to walk around to get some air, to get healthy again, just because I had the lung injury and a lot of that, and I didn't know what was going on, like for real, I didn't. I wasn't getting treated then. I just wound up in emergency rooms. I still didn't have a doctor here. I didn't, because I left this place a long time ago. There's more to the story what I'm saying this to you. that day being broken, the whole thing, Thanksgiving. And Thanksgiving with Mike and Frank, you guys got to read that in the book because that was an interesting thing. But then found that I was sicker than what I thought. It was like, then it kept on, and then had the blackouts, the passing outs, the this and that, whatever. Then all of a sudden December came, obviously, and Christmas. Mike's nun girlfriend, yada yada, you'll read in the book. She was she's a nurse. She's actually gonna be a doctor or something. But she's a nurse, and in her conversation, she started talking about, well, we're getting ready, you know, I know the people with the book that like, stop, don't say no more. Like, whatever. The fuck do I care anymore? She started talking about the Wuhan virus that was happening in China. And at that point, me being sick, me being already in the emergency room 2 times, having one blackout in the street, like literally, I thought like somebody knocked me out. It was one moment, it was just like, I'm okay. One moment, I'm in the street, like out. You go, even though everything happened to me, broken, zero, everything, whatever, and I was still waiting for a date to go back to court to be like, all right, who's that motherfucker at the bank? Why does he have checks? And why is he saying he's me? Like, for real, like, what the fuck? They're asking me who he is, and I'm asking them, who's that motherfucker? What the fuck? Anyway, long story short, my brain, even though I wasn't the guy I was before, I was still the guy that I was before. I didn't have the clothes of somebody that had money. I didn't have the Rolex. I didn't have, you know, the apartment in the city looking over the park. I didn't have the Jaguar. I didn't have none of that. It was basically like fucking zero. But I still had the thoughts of a rich man. And that didn't die. And it was something amazing because when she was talking about it, like, just like in conversation, and Mikey was trying to get me to wrap gifts for some of the poor kids in the neighborhoods for Christmas. Frank's always done this for a long time. You know, sometimes kids don't got gifts, but if you give a kid a gift that doesn't have a gift, you change his like fucking year. So when she said that though, and she said that like passing by, my brain just honed in on it. I didn't have the money to get on the bus, but my brain heard something, and it's just like the Terminator in here just fucking went fucking online. It became self-aware again. and I told her, where's this this flu at? Because I wouldn't even call it a virus, it was a flu. And she said, no, don't worry, it's not gonna affect you, because I was sick at the time. She said it's in China, someplace called Wuhan. And right there, I was like, huh. And I did the research on it that night. Being sick and everything messed up, didn't have money to invest, didn't have a brokerage account, didn't have nothing, didn't have a credit card, a debit card, didn't have a bank account, nothing. Flatline. I did the research on it when it was there, and everybody was talking about, well, if it does cross from, like, you know, animals to humans or airborne or whatever, it's gonna obviously multiply, whatever. So I did the math of, could this motherfucker turn into like an actual, you know my feeling on, but nonetheless, whatever, go coronavirus. So in the back of my mind, it stuck there. So come January, when I was supposed to go back to court, let's say, okay, let's start. Because now finally they gave me the date. I'm still sick, I'm broken, I'm wiped out, and I want to get back to life. I'm like, look, I wasn't at the fucking bank. I wasn't even in the fucking country. I don't know this fucking guy. And obviously the government's like, we're not going to talk about him. I'm like, we're going to talk about this motherfucker. Because him and somebody else is at a bank, and I'm not even in the country. And then they start delaying and backing up, which is normal. Anybody that's been through the system, they know that. When you got them on the hooks, when they did some nasty shit to you, trust me, ain't nobody want to be your friend. They just like, well, Mr. Bravo, calm down. We'll look at that later. We'll talk about that later. So it's like, what the fuck? Okay. So then they scheduled another court date where they did nothing but basically pushed it forward. But then something happened. I realized that obviously, listen, you can't be in a bank in Manhattan if you're 7,000 miles away in the Caribbean. It just doesn't, there's no math to it. I didn't have a private plane in my own airport, whatever it may be. So I started to get angry. Yes, I got tortured. I was fucking angry, all kinds of stuff. I got thrown into the tier where fucking Epstein was whacked. Like, trust me, I had to deal with some gorillas in a cell by the fucking staircase down there. It was like murder central. Trust me, I've been through the extreme and everything, but I was still willing to give people a benefit of a chance because the prosecutor didn't put me in there. The judge didn't put me in there. It was just some fuck ups that put me in there, whatever. And they were more handling the day-to-day, whatever. And I've even had major people reach out to me and tell me that was a big fuck up that they did with you. And don't worry about it, Ronnie. We're going to court, brother. So trust me, I'm gonna make us proud. So anyway, when I left the court that day, knowing that I was gonna get railroaded, something made me just like get enraged, and like I was just to a point where I was so fucking pissed. And at the same time, I saw something that changed my life, and I guess it changed your life too. It's definitely gonna change your life. I saw a cover of a newspaper in downtown New York City, and on the front page, on one of those things where you put the money and you take the newspaper out, like I'm old school stuff, but downtown New York City still has that. I think it was China News or something like that. I remember this as a paper, because downtown New York City by the courts, the federal courts and everything, that's Chinatown. So that down there, they have their newspapers. And all of a sudden I'm looking at the newspapers and they are talking about things that the regular internet wasn't showing yet. Because they speak to people over there and they were whatever, but guess what it was talking about? On the front, the Wuhan virus, and it was talking about them closing in Wuhan, and some people have gone to other provinces and the airports are shut down. And then I just looked at it and I said, oh my God, that's actually happening. I said, wouldn't it be great if I had money? There's things that I can do, like fucking short airlines in Asia. Because right now it was only Asia. But I didn't have the money. So whatever. And I remember I went back home, which at the time I was staying with Mike and Frank. And I was there, I checked my email and I got a message that the courts were gonna start the process of shutting down because of the Wuhan virus. So I'm thinking to myself, like, what the fuck? How are you gonna shut down? I gotta get this off me. I gotta get back to life. All of a sudden, there's talk about they're gonna start shutting the country down and all this other bullshit. And right there and then, I said to myself, if I'm not gonna be able to go to court to clear my name, I'm not dying in these fucking streets of poor man. That shit is not happening. So it was literally like, I can't go to court. Like, I really can't walk in. No, because this virus, we're taking safety protocols and you can't come in. I'm like, but you motherfuckers had no problems when you arrested me and brought me in there. With a virus, by the way, that almost killed me. And killed, by the way, 39 people where I was at. So I was gonna be number 40. So I got that clipping and I could even post it. If you guys tell me, yeah, Lou, post it. 39 motherfuckers in that little city area died. I was gonna be number fucking 40. So I survived the wild shit and then they brought me here. So then they're telling me about a virus that hasn't even come, for your safety. I'm like, what about the other viruses you gave me? Doesn't matter, I digress. When they started talking about shutting the country down, and they did, and New York City shut down hard, like fucking like everything, boards and everything. And it was something I never, like people in New Yorkers, they shut this motherfucker down. Lights out, bye-bye. And I couldn't go to court. I couldn't go back to my life. I was sick. I couldn't, earn a living, whatever. And all of a sudden you start to see all these stocks start to drop in price. So I started doing some research, still as a poor man, like devastated. I was too broke to be poor. And all of a sudden, in my research, I found out, wait a minute, nobody's dying of this shit? Some old people, some fat asthmatics, whatever, but the flu knocks them out. So I did the numbers, and I'm like, this shit ain't gonna last. So at this point, I said to myself, oh my God, this is the most incredible recovery play ever. And back then, motherfuckers that were like Mike, I turned Mike into my proxy broker because I couldn't touch anything. And I told Mike, you don't understand. If I had money, I will put you in front of that computer and I will climb back to fucking a level to another level that's unbelievable. And he's like, hey, what are you gonna do? I got laid off from work too. There's nothing going on. And then he said the fucking words right out of his mouth. You know, you got guys up in the Bronx throwing hands for money. That's how bad things have gotten in New York. Right there. When he said that, the first things that came out of my mouth was how much money they're getting. And he's like, well, it depends, you know, you know, people put money up, you know, you get a flat amount, and you know, you bet whatever, side bets, whatever. And when I did the math, I said to myself, okay, so if I do about 10 fights and take the earnings of the fight, put it on the street, start working some fucking plays, take that money, put it back out on the street, fight some gorillas, make some more money, come back in the streets, take position, calls, whatever, start doing it crypto. And I just, in my brain, even though I was in that position, even though I was sick, and you guys are gonna see, I mean, that was some shit. But the reason I'm telling you that, it's not me, whatever, but I'm just telling you something. Obviously, that led me to go to the Bronx. Where's the fighting? You're for real. We're going into that basement, and then it's like, first one's a basement, second one's a fucking platform of a subway on Westchester Avenue with a 6th line, I think it was, on the subway platform, like fucking in the back of the platform where people, you know, like they're waiting to go to work. Well, guess what? There was nobody going to work. There were motherfuckers throwing hands there. Like, for real, like up above the street. Like, this is fucking psychotic, that type of stuff. But in my brain, I had to get X amount of cash, put it into street to work, go back and forth, and take my position. Take that money to make it 5,000. 5,000 becomes 15. 50 became 35. 35, we pulled it out, did a couple of moves. Also with crypto on the weekends, bam, we moved it up with 80, 120. Then that 120, let's get to the 340s and so, and we fucking started going deep. Deep until we were spread out like the fucking octopus. We had fucking tentacles everywhere. Fucking cruise ships. I'll tell you the cruise ship story. That was a hilarious one. I went to a fucking place downtown. This little fucking half of fags talking about, we are never gonna have the cruise ships. He's talking about what investments have to go forward. And I'm there like, he's yelling and insulting people, like one of those guru types. So I just raised my hands because I paid to sit there. Not because I wanted to hear, because I wanted to just hear. There's a difference. It's always good to listen. And then I just told him, the mortality rate doesn't equate scrapping cruise ships for metal. It just doesn't happen. And he's like, no, don't tell me, I know. And I'm like, nah, it doesn't. That's why I got pissed, because I fucking, you lost, motherfucker. Anyway, as the recovery started, people started to go, fuck this mask. I'm going out there dancing the lambada, whatever. All of our positions started to grow. So things that we had at that point, like 360,000 on calls, that fucking blew up to a point where we were just going bananas. Like I said, AMC was like literally like one of the last ones out of that entire thing. And I haven't stopped. I haven't. Because When crypto was still like $8,000-9,000, we went in crazy in that thing. And when that thing went up to the sixes, like that goes into the market. Time to work. When GameStop was going up, I told Mikey, pull out, pull out. This shit, they're gonna fuck these kids up. We pulled out at 312. Guess what? That money, a lot of money, that turned around to other plays. What didn't die, what wasn't stopped out of everything, was I never stopped in here acknowledging that I was a money guy. And it didn't matter, the brain injury didn't matter, my hands were busted up, didn't matter. I was getting also rocked because this ain't a movie. You get fucked up too. You take hits, okay? You can, whatever, you know. In movies, actors don't get fucked up. In real life, fucking gorillas, they put their fist right in your fucking ear and that ringing doesn't stop. There was one point that I got hit so fucking hard that the next day, like for real, my head felt like it was still floating, like it was still there. It was shook so hard. I still remember because I was actually having a bowl of cereal the next morning and the fucking cereal fucking looked like it was floating. That's how bad I got rocked. But I fought every motherfucker to the end. One of the things I'm 100% proud of myself is 1, discipline, and 2, I could take a fucking beating and keep fucking going after somebody. Also, the cool thing about bare knuckles, you don't have to worry about 10 rounds. Why? Because it's over fast. You don't got padded gloves, your hands are not taped up, so you're literally going to war there for like a fucking concentrated hot couple of minutes. And at the end of the day, if you could absorb that punishment and dish it out strategically, that's a different world. But either way, the reason I get back to after all that I went through, the hospitals, the courts, the bullshit, and the courts keep telling me, sorry, you can't come because of coronavirus. Sorry, I'm sorry, because of coronavirus. I'm thinking to myself like, fucking coronavirus. I'm fucking fighting in basements and they got fucking chickens in boxes. They're gonna fucking whack them up the next day at the bodega and I'm fucking down there throwing hands. I'm not catching no fucking coronavirus. I'm fucking here like, you don't let me go to court. I can't talk to the judge. I'm like, what happens? The judge is outside. He's taking the subway. He's going to Whole Foods. But he can't meet me to just basically resolve this. Anyway, but what I didn't let fall down was my way of thinking. My way of thinking was, A, I was a money guy. Meaning I made my decision to make money. Okay? Not earn money. Make money. You go to a job, you earn money. There's nothing wrong with that. I made the decision to make money, create shit. So, even though I was fucked up at zero, banged out, massive emergency rooms, all kinds of stuff, brain injury, lung, heart, you fucking name it. The planet came after me. And my last fight was a fucking wild zone because the cops raided the fucking joint. And the fight where people were betting money didn't happen. So we're in the street and I told Mike, listen, fuck it, let's go home. We've already done our plays. Bullshit. These motherfuckers put their money, their bets were there. They wanted that fight to happen. But it wasn't going to happen where it was going to happen. It was happening in the street. And that's when things went psycho. But that's also the night where, obviously, I told Mikey to put everything because this motherfucker was going to have to kill me. There was no way I was going to let this motherfucker beat me. And even though I wound up in the hospital right after that fight, like, boop, 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 that type of stuff, at the end, that motherfucker was like, strike a pose, right under the brook, and I put that motherfucker to sleep. That motherfucker went through war. But it was because I refused to let anybody stop the man that I knew was in here. And he had to come out. I'll tell you a little bit of the ending of the story, and I'll tell you what the whole reason I'm telling you this. Once all the money came in, once all the positions, once Texas said, fuck that, no more, once Florida said, we're open, yada, 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 and once restrictions started, whatever, we started making a lot of money. So Mike and Frank, they're millionaires. So at that time, where they were living at was the poor area across the street where I live at now. And I remember leaving that building and coming over to where I'm at now and being in my apartment now and looking back at the guy that emerged out of the subway covered in blood with $0, going to Mike's house and collapsing in the doorway. The moral story is, no matter what happens with this squeeze play, whether big or small, or in the future if you lose money, anything happens, you get sick, no matter what happens, whatever, if you decide that you're going to be a money person, you could do a lot of amazing things with money. So if you look at this play as one play and you're gonna go off, whatever, that's fine. But remember, once you start thinking like this, you could become unstoppable. You really can. You know, discipline and desire together and action are some amazing fucking arsenals to have inside of you. So I just gonna leave you with this, and because this is wrapping up already, so you guys are ready and have to make decisions. I know you guys are gonna come into money, whatever. Some people, you know, winners and losers, whatever. But remember something. Up here, make a decision who you are when this stuff pans out. That's why I always say, squeegee time. No matter what happens in my time, I'm always gonna try to make a comeback. So hopefully that was my last battle with that. And I've set myself up with certain plays and secondary plays, whatever, in order to make sure that's how it is. I'd rather be thinner in a position, but have multiple positions covering me. But what I want to tell you 100% is that once this happens, realize who you are at that moment. And if you're going to be in this forever, lock that inside, because that's going to carry you forward. For those of you who just got that money, going to help people out in your life and everything, God bless you. But remember, this is going to change you and going to make you to who you really are or wanted to be or should have been. So, love you motherfuckers. Good night. And we'll talk tomorrow. See, Melania, I was here going through the struggle, beating guys up, going through this process, getting clocked, everything. And you were downtown. Now you left to Florida. What am I going to say? But I know you'll be back.